Guys, welcome back. We are jumping into another Superflex. Really happy to be doing these while they're open, although this tournament is filling up fast and I am back to work this week, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to catch up and get all our entries in, but we'll certainly try to. Now, I have said in other drafts, I have zero exposure to Jahmyr Gibbs this year because in the conventional drafts, the traditional draft format, I haven't gotten the 1-1. I've gotten plenty of 1-2, got plenty of Bijan Robinson, but I haven't gotten the 1-1. Now, when I have gotten the 1-1, I've been in this draft twice, and I took Allen both times. Here, we absolutely could look to grab Jahmyr Gibbs. Although I really like starting quarterback in this format in the first round. You guys are familiar with Superflex. You know how important that is to get the right quarterbacks. And if we don't, our quarterback room is going to suffer pretty significantly. That being said, we can pull up Jackson if we want. Maybe I just want to get some exposure to Gibbs, and maybe this is just the format to do it. So we'll go ahead and grab him. I don't know what that's going to mean for us at 23, 26. I will be looking at some smattering of like Mayfield, Love, Stafford, Murray, Goff, Knicks. I am high on Shug this year. I've sent it in plenty of drafts, so maybe we can get him, pull him up to the 26 here. Maybe we won't need to. We'll see what happens. We could also look to go hero QB here. Or sorry, yeah, just go one QB. Um, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think we go hero RB, grab our Gibbs, get our quarterback value here, and then start the draft at 47. See how that pans out. I think that's the play. So, all right. Chase goes here right after Jackson. Typically, you see the quarterbacks come off here. You see a May, a Daniels, a Burrow, kind of in whatever order the lobby feels they exist in. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that now. Interesting to have somebody pull up Chase and pick 5 here, but that's as it goes in these drafts. Okay, Great May goes there. I have May third behind Jackson and Allen this year. I have Burrow ahead of Daniels, Daniels behind Burrow. It's not that I think that necessarily Burrow is going to outscore Daniels is the highest likelihood. I think it's just a safer kind of a safer floor with him if he stays healthy. And Daniels, we've only got one season sample size. Burrow, we have a plenty of season sample size. Okay, Hurts goes here. I've got Williams and Herbert above Hurts this year, which Herbert, I guess, could be a question mark, but I certainly wouldn't. Okay, then Herbert goes. So a long run of quarterbacks here after we see Chase go off. Typically back here, you do see some variety of folks like the Nakuas and Christian McCaffrey's, Jonathan Taylor's of the world. But if the Jonathan Taylor drafter could get Taylor and McCaffrey, and it's not uncommon to see the 11 and the 12 and sometimes the 11 just give away quarterback here. But with Williams, I think that's the right pick. So Nakua McCaffrey does do that, which this makes sense. These could be the two highest scoring non-quarterback assets in fantasy football this year. You're looking at them. They could easily both be number 1 and 2 respectively. So interesting. I think there's a tier break after Prescott. Lawrence did turn it on at the end of last year, but I'm not super high on him this year to turn out sort of a consistent fantasy performance that warrants him going where he's going here. But so I'm okay that he's off the board. The next guys up are Mahomes, Dart, Purdy. I'm kind of highest on Dart and Purdy, higher than Mahomes this year. Purdy's probably more consistent. This is kind of the same comparison as Daniels Burrow, right? Dart has a smaller sample size. It has shown a lot of upside, but now I was going to say, if we get lucky, we start with a Dart or a Purdy here, but I doubt that's going to happen with 3 positional players ahead of us. Most of the time, if you do get a Gibbs or Robinson or a blue chip piece in the first part, you have to double tap quarterback here. And the reason you have to do that is you really aren't going to have many serviceable quarterbacks here at the end of 4. You're looking at like Bryce Young and those sort of guys down here at the end of 4, which is not ideal to be getting your second quarterback as Bryce Young. But so Purdy goes there. The question would become, where do we value Knicks and Goff above some of these positional players? But that's exactly what I was saying, right? Because even if we grab let's say we were to grab a James Cook or an Ashton Genty right here with Gibbs, or we even grabbed like an Amon Ra, and then we try to snap Goff here. First of all, the Allen player might get Goff. I did that to somebody the other day. And then secondarily, you kind of wind up with this place where your first quarterback is I mean, Jordan Love, I suppose, isn't too bad, but not as QB1. So I'm going to take off here. If he wants to take Amon Ra, he can. If he doesn't take Amon Ra, we could try to look for Daniel Jones or Bryce Young down here and backstack those folks with, like, the Tet McMillans, etc. But he takes Amon Ra. I'm actually not surprised. Now, it will be interesting to see if he goes running back here. There's insane running back value on the board, and the quarterbacks definitely have tiered off. So we could live the dream. We could pass on quarterback here. I just am really, I don't want to say scared, but again, we'll be looking at like Bryce Young as our second QB. To do that, we would have Gibbs and Genty. You know what? I think that's just too enticing. Let's put both those guys in the same. I was just saying there's a strong reason you don't do this, even though this seems really enticing. But this is one bullet. We get 20 bullets in this tournament. So let's give this a shot. Let's see if I'm right or wrong. Again, at 47, you're kind of down to Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers, Fernando Mendoza. We absolutely will grab a quarterback or two down here. No questions asked. After going Gibbs Genty, we kind of just are kind of committed to doing that. The Jackson player who gets Cook Barkley does get the opportunity to grab a quarterback before we do, notably. I'm of these guys down here, I'm kind of highest on Jones. He'd be right at ADP. Think he could have if he stays healthy with that offense, he could have a fine year, totally fine year. I'm not so high. I'm fine with Cam Ward. I'm not so high on Bryce Young. I've just never been a fan of his. I'd probably look to value Rodgers or Mendoza over Bryce Young. Mendoza's never taken an NFL snap, if that tells you how I feel. But the other option is I don't think London will make it back here. But if we were to see London, he's at 43, so he's going to probably go up here somewhere. If we were to see London, then we could look to grab Tua and Penix. But I feel like there's a lot of folks who don't treat quarterback correctly in this draft, kind of as we have done. And then they just are stuffing Tua. We've actually done this, where you just stuff Tua or Penix in your lineup late and just say, okay, well, that's my attempt at a QB3, right? If you do the Herbert Prescott or the Williams Herbert or whatever thing up here, you just say the hell with it and go that route. So there's that option. We'll see. If we can get two names I'm content with, I will double stack quarterback here. If we don't, this team's gonna suffer for sure. But Gibbs and Genty is just what a sexy backfield. Oh my god. All right, so the Hurts Lawrence player grabs Love. He gets a really nice fall on Love here. All of these folks, both the guys who double stacked QB, Daniels, Mahomes, Drake May, Purdy, go with Lamb and Hampton respectively here. The Puka McCaffrey player decides to stack Mayfield and Darnold. That's fine. The Robinson player got Nix and Stafford. And so would we have been happier with Genty with Gibbs, Goff, Stafford versus Gibbs, Goff, Genty? Honestly, if we drafted this team 100 times and 50 of them had Genty here and 50 of them had Stafford here, I think we like our construction with Stafford like 45 of the 50 times, and we like our construction with Genty maybe 25. So I think this is going to be harder to pull off, and we're going to need Shug falling all the way down here. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I have Shug above, definitely above Stroud and Darnold. I'm projecting him above Mayfield and Love this year, actually, if he hits his ceiling is higher than that. That offense is amazing. This guy's got some wheels, so maybe I'm just overvaluing him, but I kind of look at him like the Drake May of this year. I was hoping we'd get a Jones to fall to us, but I think in these drafts, people are hip to the fact that this is one of your last upside quarterbacks in this range. So since that doesn't happen, now Willis is off the board. We are going to be stuck with a Cam Ward or a Bryce Young, and that kind of sucks, but it's all good. And then Ward goes there so bad, dude, so bad. So we get punished. We get absolutely punished. The Chase Henry player here pulled the same maneuver, but got to pick before us. So all of that to say, I think what I'm going to do. Oh, and London goes. I was going to say I'm about to snipe London here and then go Tua and Penix later. But even that doesn't work out. So we're going to go with our old faithful here. We're going to pick up Trey McBride. I've done this a couple of times. And then we're going to backstack him with Jacoby Brissett on the turnaround here. Although I guess maybe we could look for Brissett to wheel, and then we could get Young or Rogers here. Who are we higher on, Young or Rogers? Well, I guess if we have an option for Tet later, maybe Bryce Young is the move here. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I hate Bryce Young, so I'm already low on our team. I think that we we did sacrifice. I'm glad I got McBride here, but I think that if London had fallen again, we would have looked for Tua and Penix. But I think that after you start Gibbs and Genty with a Goff, um, you have to get a Jones or at least a Cam Ward to follow you here, which we did not get. So if we don't look at Brissett's ADP, it's 79. So we should get him down here at 71 or 74, but you never know. In these lobbies, it can be weird. Folks get a little squirrely and grab their third quarterback. So we'll see. We shall see. Uh, Tet McMillan is there at 70. So if we get lucky, Tet falls to us here at 71 to pair with Bryce Young, and then we grab Brissett here to pair with McBride. If I do that, I'm not going to get JMO, which I'd have to pull JMO up um, to Jameson Williams to get him. I'd have to pull him up because we're going to be drafting again at 95. But I'm okay with not having Goff with JMO for Goff. With Gibbs, I think this is a pretty cool little sneaky combo. He's kind of a half a receiver, right? The way he plays, and then we'll maybe grab Laporta later and just be done with McBride and Laporta. Those are options. Those are options and opportunities. Rogers Mendoza goes here at the end. Geno Smith. I don't know how there's folks drafting Geno Smith above Jacoby Brissett. Like I really don't. I don't know if we were watching the same NFL last year. I wouldn't say Brissett was great, but he wasn't terrible either. I mean, you know, he he slung the ball. There's a reason McBride got a lot of points. They were coming from Brissett. So Hayden's. Okay, so in this round, this is where you start to see the Montgomery, Statabos, Neighbors, Higgins. These guys start to come off the board, and this is where the guys who stacked triple quarterback or went very QB heavy are still getting an insane amount of positional value here, which is great. We just have to fade what 4 teams here for Brissett, and all 4 teams have 2 quarterbacks. One has 3, which just took Irving. Um, but yeah, Flowers, Olave. So we just have to fade Brissett here. I am going to take him. I do not. I'm okay if we don't get Tet. I just don't want the Kyler Murray Allen player to snipe him from us because he is kind of a piece that we need. And as high as I am on Tet, and as much as I would love him with Bryce Young here, um, we can't afford not to get McMillan. Now that being said, or sorry, Brissett to stack with McBride. That being said, even though we have Gibbs and Genty, there could be Quinshawn Judkins sitting on the other side here. And that could be, if our player here with Hall doesn't take him, which he probably will, that would be an insane backfield. He takes Jadarian Price over Quinshawn Judkins. So would we have Tedero McMillan, Quinshawn Judkins? When he gets back to us, you know what? I think we actually want to, with having Bryce Young, I think if there ever was a time to prioritize a Tet McMillan, this is the time right here. We've got the stack. So I do like the way our team, even though we did this experiment, I do like the way we configure the rest of the team. We pulled this Brissett McBride's back stack down here. And actually, now that I think about that, I think this is my 10th draft entry into this format, and I think I have McBride in 3 of them. I keep getting him at the end of the board here and putting him above guys like Hall and Love and ETN and Jacobs. That's just I kind of have him there. So it's interesting. And if you're going to have McBride, I think you want Brissett. I guess maybe just because of the way this stacked out, we grab a Carson Beck late. Although I say this all the time in this format, if you're grabbing your handcuff quarterback just to say, well, if my guy goes down, I need someone to play. Needing someone to play is not going to win you all the money in the 17th week. And this is a week 17 tournament where the money is doled out in that week. So you're shooting for only upside. And what we're saying here is if, Gibbs and Genty are, let's say, running back 1 and running back 3, and Goff is a top 10 quarterback, and Bryce Young can be a top 12 quarterback, and Brissett can be a top 12 quarterback, and one of these guys is finding their way into our flex, and we don't need another running back here, this team's going to be stacked as hell. Because even at 95, 98, we're looking at guys like in this format, right? You're looking at guys like still having guys like Tate, Thomas, Dowdle, Tyson, Harvey, Kraft could be interesting. You still have these guys in play, which is and sometimes you even get better guys like Adunze and Stevenson and more. You get these guys to fall, so we'll have a real nice shot at some good value here. And our quarterback room, even though it is a little sus, short up nicely against what is easily not close best backfield in the league. All right, I don't in the lobby. Cook Barkley is pretty good, but I like Gibbs Gentry better, even though I'm very high on Cook this year. But and we get McBride. So while the Cook Barkley player is taking Ward, we grab McBride, and what's the difference between Bryce Young and Cam Ward? I mean, yes, Cam Ward's a higher value asset, but by how much? But I will say Jackson, Cam Ward, Cook Barkley, Williams is pretty good, and they get the Zay Flower stack. So the run on wide receiver value that I like is gone. It typically goes down in this range. Adunze is the last of them, but I do not suspect he will fall. If he doesn't make it back to us, we're in the range of these guys. It would be interesting to grab a Tucker Craft up here. What is Laporta's ADP? Laporta is 112, and we come back in at 119. So he'd have to fall in. I do find that these rooms, when these rooms start to struggle to evaluate this range of players right here, Monundai Park in Washington, down through like I don't know, Addison Downs, you find people just taking quarterback, just taking wide, just taking tight ends. So, dude, if Adunze falls to us, that'll be a gift. I have a lot of Adunze this year, and I'm happy to have him. The Loveland player may opt to, well, does not. I'm so happy to have Adunze as our wide receiver too. We get insane fall value there. Now we could grab a Tua, just say, hey, this guy's maybe going to be a starter, and we have Young and Brissett, which are kind of sus. Dowdle's okay. Dobbins is not somebody I want to reach on here. Tyson, Marvin Harrison, Brian Thomas are all kind of okay. We could grab a Laporta. We could reach down on a Laporta. I don't know if I want to do that too. Who's the next tight end? So if we want to, we could reach down on a Laporta right here. Kind of doesn't feel necessary. I'm kind of interested in Tua actually. Should we do that at Jordan Tyson? It's kind of between the two. You know what? I think I'm going to snap off Tua, which we get him anyway based on value. Happens to be once a draft. This time I was taking him anyway. Ha! Gotcha. 20 seconds is hard to draft on, guys. 20 seconds is hard to draft on. Uh, but I'm okay. Actually, I think we salvaged this because Tua, we absolutely did salvage what was one of these guys is going to find their way into our flex, right? And so we have a great backfield. We have two serviceable running backs. We've got our uh, McBride here. So now we just start picking up, who will be our conventional flex. And we'll be drafting back here at 119. So if Laporta falls, I will take him. It probably won't happen. If Pitt sticks down there, I'll take him too and have two of these guys. Um, right, we'll still be looking at like Aaron Jones, some great wide receiver value down here. We'll grab one of these wide receivers almost for sure. Not sure I want Kittle with McBride, but maybe Addison's great too. Think we do want to pick up a running back in this range though. So I'm hoping Aaron Jones or Rashad White or even Kenny Gainwell gets down there. Um, and then we want one of the wide receivers, and we should be totally fine. Dobbins sometimes falls considerably too, and I think that that's absolutely a mistake. I think you want to I think you want to be grabbing. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, sometimes he falls stupid, and it's a mistake. Before he got injured, he was the guy in the backfield in Denver, and I don't know if that's going to change. Sutton probably won't feel. What is he? 117. He might. He's like the start of the range that that might get to us. So I'll put him in the mix too. I'm kind of underweight at Sutton this year. Overweight at Johnson. Kind of probably at par with Reed, underweight on Wilson, overweight on Godwin would be my assessment without looking at my portfolio. All right, so Jonathan Brooks is another consideration. Uh, the Carolina backfield, Hubbard, I guess, is going to be okay, but Brooks, I could see carving out a little piece there. And we already have McMillan and Bryce Young, so that could be an interesting piece of that puzzle. Um, if that's what we wanted to do. At this point, if Brooks doesn't fall, the other running backs kind of went off the board. So you got Jordan Mason and Chris Rodriguez down here and Krusty Merritt, but I'm not super high on any of those guys. So interestingly enough, with Gibbs and Genty, after springing on Tua, which we would have just been looking at one of these guys, which isn't super huge, we kind of are in this weird spot where we don't we don't have running backs that we think will reasonably hit our flex, but these receivers probably will. Like, yeah, I think we're going to take Porta if he gets back to us. If Sam Laporta doesn't go to the Loveland player here, we'll take him. I don't want to risk our friend to the left here getting him with Kraft. We'll take him. Ah, and we're sniped. So much snipage. All right, of these guys, I guess I'll take Sutton. Do I want Kittle or Kelsey here? Probably not. No, I'll take Sutton. On the turnaround, I mean, if you're looking, because again, Jordan Mason and Cross Merritt are fine. I guess maybe Mason's the pick here. We're going to pull him up considerably. We're at 122. We pull him up like half a round. But if we wait, they don't really get better. Although we did just get a ton of running backs at the end, so that's also a idea. So if we want to just grab Jaden Reed, Michael Wilson, Jordan Addison here, maybe we do that and we just stuff running backs at the end of this draft. Just grab them all right now our wide receiver room is pretty darn good, and you only start two wide receivers, so we could be looking at a Sutton or a Reed um, on a week-to-week basis. Uh, one of them hitting our flex after our two starters go. So we kind of went this double RB hero RB strategy here. Maybe Tua was the mispick, but with Young as our second quarterback, we're giving ourselves more opportunity to have one of these guys hit our super flex. We're basically saying our running backs are never hitting our super flex as you start to. Um, we obviously do need more. So with this receiver room and with the quarterbacks, and we're going to need another tight end, but I think we just got to stuff running back in our pocket for the remainder of the draft. Pretty much just always prioritizing um, the running back positional value where we go. So we're at 143, 146. If we look at that here, you're like Keaton Mitchell, Woody Marks. Don't have a lot of Isaiah Pacheco, but we do have the Detroit Lions on our team, so that could be a situation. And I like Algier. So maybe we'll double tap running back down here at 143, 146. And then 167, if we go back to running back, which again, we just need to be taking a ton of them now. Love Dylan Sampson in this range, Tank Bigsby, Sean Tucker. Yeah, all these guys are fine. Brian Robinson could have the Algier like usage in Atlanta. But yeah, those guys are fine. Like Ray Davis too. Just grabbing some of these guys. We can probably grab another wide receiver out of the next four picks, and we definitely are going to want a couple more tight ends. But I'm okay with whoever at tight end. Although I will say I like Kincaid and Likely, so if either of them fall, they could be a nice pairing with McBride here. I just think they're a cut above, and then if we got one of those guys, maybe we just stick with two. Myers, Addison, Pittman, Worthy off the board. Great value on Addison, Pittman, and Worthy. These guys fall into the end of the 11th round is pretty darn good. Yeah. So, we only have Gibbs and Genty, but would you rather have Gibbs and Genty or Crosty, Merritt, Dowdle, Price, and Hall? I'd rather have Gibbs and Genty. Now, for that, he's got Allen and Murray, Amon Ross St. Brown, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin. So he's got a great receiving core, better than ours, certainly. But, like, I'd rather have Genty and Gibbs, and we've got McBride. So, and the reason I'm looking at Dalton Kincaid or Isaiah Likely here is because if we do this, there will be weeks where potentially one of these guys is our tight end, and sorry, McBride is our tight end, and one of these guys is our not super flex, our regular flex spot, right? Whereas the other tight ends you get into once you get past them are probably not your flex ever. So I think Kincaid is not very consistent. There he goes, but he is um, got a high upside. I think Likely has a really high upside too. So we might go likely running back here and then running back down here. Because I actually like the running back value down here in terms of just upside over like Keaton Mitchell and Woody Marks. They're fine. I'm going to take one of them here, but does Likely make it to us? He does. Cool. So we'll grab Likely here just to make sure we get him. And then we're probably grabbing Woody Marks. We could, again, I'm super underweight Isaiah Pacheco, but I think there's a reason for that. But we do have Gibbs, so I guess maybe it's a grab Pacheco just in case. But like, if Gibbs goes down, we just lose. We're not gonna. We don't win this tournament, right? So I guess you do get some of that value. We could also pull Algier way up, and I think Algier stands a chance of having the most reasonable. You know what? I'm gonna do that. He's of all these guys, I just feel like Tyler Algier is going to get carries in that offense, whether Love is playing or not. We do. We also have Brissett McBride. So I don't know if you really want to be staking your claim on what is probably going to be one of the worst offenses in the league in the Arizona Cardinals this year, but it's what we're doing. But okay, our construction so far is Jared Goff, Bryce Young, Brissett, Tua at quarterback, Jameer Gibbs, Ashton Genty, Tyler Algier at running back, Tedero McMillan, Roma Dunze, Cortland Sutton, Jaden Reed at wide receiver, and Trey McBride and Isaiah Likely at tight end. So if you asked me right now, through I don't know, we're at 14 rounds here, how this experiment's going, I'd say not great. And this is kind of what I was saying. That's why it's one bullet. So like, let's shoot it. And I don't hate this team. In fact, I think this team has legs. It's just what will this end up looking like? Obviously, when the season starts. But like, if you take Gibbs here, you can't afford to take Genty. You have to take a Stafford because if we take a Stafford here, then we don't need to even think about Yon. We maybe take him at Bride, but we get I don't know. Bucky Irving or DeAndre Swift or Cam Stadabo right here where Bryce Young is. We could still take Brissett with McBride to back up Goff and Stafford if we wanted to have that third QB, and we get another running back who can sit in our flex consistently. Whereas right now, our flex is most likely occupied by Sutton or Reed, and I don't think that's likely to get the job done. So, um, if you're gonna, and then especially if you're gonna do this, you can't afford to take McBride. Although we knew we could because we just didn't care about Young. But there, if we don't take McBride and we go, let's say Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers, how much better does our team look? And I think it actually looks worse. So I think I'm saying all of that to say that this experiment of getting Gibbs or Robinson in this range, but then not double stepping quarterback right here, is a fail. If you're going to take Gibbs or Robinson in this range, you pretty much, unless you're committing to just punting on QB altogether, if you want a decent QB room, you've got to get double QB at the 2-3 turn. That's in that range, the 2-3 turn range. So lesson learned. We are learning together, research and development. Sad night for U.S. soccer. We did not beat Belgium tonight. It actually kind of was not a good showing. And I'm a huge U.S. men's national team fan. I'm a huge fan of the World Cup in general, but tonight was not a whole lot to be proud of on the field there. I mean, proud of the American team. They made it. They made it to round of 16. So congrats to them. But we did not put our best foot forward, our best feet forward at all. All right. So as it makes it back to us, Jonah Coleman is still on the list too. Happy to look at him. I guess Jawan Johnson is another upside tight end I didn't consider, but I'm actually pretty happy to have Likely here. So if Coleman makes it to us, we're definitely taking two QBs here. I'm happy to grab any of these two. We're not looking at wide receiver. We're pretty much taking QBs or sorry running backs until we can't take them anymore. Charbonnet's still on the board. That might actually be a starter. So who took Price? Jadarian Price player may look to take Charbonnet down here. So if Jonah Coleman goes there, we'll take Charbonnet. That actually we could just be getting a starting running back here, which is crazy. I think Price is going to get play, and maybe he is the starter, but I still think you see Charbonnet play. And then we'll take Bigsby Tucker. I don't know that I want to reach all the way down on Ray Davis because we actually could get a Ray Davis at ADP right here. So I just have him flat as a guy I really like. And a league winner should James Cook go down, which pray that does not happen because as a Bills fan, I want him in the field. Bigsby versus Tucker. Bigsby kind of has to have Barkley go down, whereas Tucker might just be in the offense. But I'm really overweight Sean Tucker. I take him all the time because the guy just scores touchdowns. That's what he does. So, but we'll pass on him here. I'm going to leave him flat just in case he makes it all the way back to us, which I don't think he will. But as it gets back to us in that 191 range, we'd be looking at like Ray Davis, Stribling, Singleton's another guy we consider. Don't have a ton of Tatron Allen. Suppose we could look at him. Um, but yeah, we're just going to take running backs for the day as long here. Marshawn Lloyd is another guy I'm interested in. I know we only have four wide receivers, but given that we only have Gibbs and Genty, I think we want, honestly, we probably want eight running backs, and we have four quarterbacks. So that's going to give us, if we go 8-4-2, um, that allows us to go six wide receivers, and we'll grab a couple at the end. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. But we really just need to stack running backs forever here. All right, so let's look out across the board. What do we see? The Allen Murray player got Brown, Collins, McLaurin, Hall, Price, Kraft, Dowdle, Kittle, Crosty, Merritt, Shakir. I don't love this team. I actually think it's really tricky drafting from this end of the board. I really do. I think you actually end up better with better team construction down here. I'm just seeing this time and time again in these lobbies. We know what I did, like it or lump it, that's what I did. Robinson went Nixon Stafford, then got London, Love, Loveland, Adams, Harvey, Washington, Laporta, Godwin, Robinson is now grabbing all the back stack running backs. So they kind of did the same thing we did, but they did sprinkle in a Harvey, and that was our one failure or sort of misclick or mistake is that we took a Tua over pulling up like a Dobbins or whatever, or maybe here we're supposed to take a Dowdle and just grab whatever wide receiver. But I like a Dunze a cut above Washington and Tyson. That's why I did that. So I don't know if that's a mistake, but um, we kind of did the same thing here after getting Gibbs and Robinson. The only difference is that I like Genty a hell of a lot better than I love. In this column here, the Jackson Ward player who took Cook, Barkley, Williams got running went wide receiver forever, grabbed a Deshaun Watson, uh, pairs him, backstabs him with Concepcion. That's not bad. I like this sort of middling tier wide receiver room. I guess they're okay. I'm looking for like the standout team. May, Purdy, Jones went with Lamb, then does Jacobs, Irving, Warren, Waddle, Penix, Brooks Mason. Like, I don't see a standout team here. Let's look at this team. Hertz, Lawrence, Love, gets Bauer, Smith, Stadabutun. Okay, maybe this is the team right here. This is pretty good. But then Jones is their third. Again, you're just asking for your flex spot. So actually, after looking at these team constructions, I feel much better about ours. Taylor, Williams, Stroud, Achan, Rice, Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith is a reach big time. Pollard with Achan and Taylor. Williams with Stroud is just not that compelling. You guys tell me in the comments who's the best team, who's got the most solid construction. Maybe not the best team, but who's got the most solid construction in the lobbies. I'm having trouble telling. I'm having trouble telling, and I'm feeling much better about our chances against this lobby, even though I think our team construction suffered. So Lloyd is at 202. I'm really interested in him though. So you know what? Let's grab him here above Tatron Allen because I just don't have that much of Allen. I don't know how high I am on him. And then maybe does Holani go? I've said this before in another draft. We would just have that backfield minus Jadarian Price. I don't know how much Holani's going to get played this year, but like, who else are we looking at? I don't like Braylon Allen. I don't like Mark Washington, James, Tamani Vidal. Okay, let's take Holani. That puts us on seven running backs. I think we're going up to eight here. Um, how many more? And we're just going to stick with Likely and McBride. That's fine. So we have three more picks. So we get a running back and two more receivers. Okay, I like it. We're going to be at pick 215 here. Kimoni Vidal is a guy I've got my eye on for sure. He could wind up in that McDaniel steam. Kaleon Black, not a bad idea. I don't think we want James Conner when we have Tyler Algier. I think we're okay there, but maybe. Um, yeah, so we'll probably get one of those guys. And then wide receiver wise, this is just that area of the draft, right? Of just the Pat Bryants, Darnell Mooney's, Surratt's, all these guys. Are there anybody we want to shoot our shot on? Who are our quarterbacks again? Goff, Young, Brissett. I don't think there's any Brissett value down here. I don't think there's any Goff value down here. Is there any Bryce Young value down here? And I don't find myself looking for it because I never draft Bryce Young. This might be the first time I've drafted him, and if I do well in these drafts, it'll be the last time I draft him. So, uh, yeah, Chris Brazel, not really sure I'm that interested in him, but I guess we can take a look. Tyreek Hill just falling, 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 falling. Um, yeah, like I'm probably higher on just like if I'm going to take a random guy in the last round, I'm higher on like a Keon Coleman to get me a couple of touchdown weeks over the year, right? Than I am on Chris Brazel. In the same vein, maybe a Styler Bell. That's me just drafting my Bills, but I tend to do that. So McCarthy goes off the board to the Herbert Prescott Rogers player. So yeah, so again, looking out across the board, especially considering we only got one quarterback through 3 rounds, I don't feel so bad. I don't feel so bad at all. I actually think we kind of did salvage this. And what would be interesting is if this went more conventionally with Robinson here, then this player gets Knicks. Could you get away with doing Stafford if you get Ward on the back stack, and then you've got Knicks Ward with Robinson? Um, Excuse me. If they get Robinson here, could you get away with doing a Cook um, or a Knicks and have Robinson, Barkley, Knicks Ward? I don't know if I like that stack as much. They at least have one of their marquee quarterbacks. All right, should be coming back up on us shortly here. Do we want Vidal or Black? I don't. I don't know. I guess Black would be a bet on McCaffrey get hurt. Timoni Vidal just might be in the lineup. Yeah, let's go ahead and take him. He just might be in the lineup. He might just get some touchdown weights. And Hampton has already shown to be a little bit running back injury prone. So now here we'll grab a wide receiver. Of all these guys, I guess I like Tank Dell the best. I mean, I don't really have that much Dell. I'm not taking AU. Hurst is probably fine. And then we'll get a receiver at the end here, like I. Troy Franklin's another consideration. I guess Christian Kirk is fine, although that's a congested offense with McCaffrey, Evans, Kittle. I don't know Pearsall. I don't know Kirk. Brazel's down here at 234, so we're kind of put him in the bio. Where's it's 237. All right, we'll see how this goes. I don't know if Tyreek Hill is playing this year, and even if he does, I don't know how big of an impact he's going to have. And then once you get to Yosevas, I am pretty much done looking. Occasionally, I'll grab a Dawson Knox or a Styler Bell, just cause Buffalo Bills, right? But besides that, there's nobody of. I mean, I'm just standing for any type of ancillary backset value, but I think now at this point down here, you're really just kind of out of it, unless you want to take like a Trey Lance or something to handcuff one of your players. So we wound up with a very odd construction of 4-8-6-2. We have Jared Goff, Bryce Young, Brissett, Tua, Tagovailoa, right? So again, we're saying Goff's going to be our starter, and one of these guys please wind up in our super flex every week. Gibbs and Genty. Then we have Algier, Charbonnet, Bigsby, Lloyd, Halani, and Vidal. And what we're basically saying here is one of these guys is occasionally going to wind up in our flex, but Gibbs and Genty are going to stay healthy and start every week. And then we have Tet, Odunze, Sutton, Reed, and Dell, plus one more Franklin, Kirk, Pat Bryant esque player down here that will take one that we get to us. And then McBride and Likely. And what we're saying actually with this team is Sutton and Reed stand a good chance to jump into our flex, or basically one of our receivers could wind up in a flex, maybe more often than some of our running backs. But that's okay, given the fact that occasionally Likely might wind up in our flex, although I don't know how likely that is. That being said, it's an interesting team construction, but we did learn. I think we did learn what you can and can't do here in the first round, uh, or first few rounds, and that is you got to get a couple of quarterbacks, especially if you're doing one of the marquee running backs. If you get an Allen or a Jackson, you can get away with this a little bit more, right? Jackson went with Ward and just said, okay, we're good. We'll grab a Deshaun Watson to randomly pair with Casey Concepcion, and I've done this. I think that's a really sneaky back stack. in this area of the board in this range. It's a nice little pairing. Yeah. So, all right, it's on us. We're grabbing Troy Franklin. Cool. All right. Overall, I don't hate it. And after looking across the lobby and evaluating the other teams, I actually think this is a pretty decent squad in this lobby. How this will fare overall in the tournament, not too sure. So, because remember, this is 2 out of 12 go, then 2 out of 10, then 2 out of 12, then you're up against 124, 123 other people in the final. You can't have multiple teams advance, obviously. Yeah, so this is interesting. I do like the 2 out of each round. That is kind of cool. So, and then this, 10,000 to first place, and then it goes all the way down to like, you know, you get $10 back if you're 745 through 37. But I mean, we're going for that 124 seat, and if you get into the final week, you're guaranteed $100, which these are $5 a piece. It's 20 entry max. So basically, if you make it to the tournament final, you at least get your money back, and then it's all gravy from there. So super cool though. Appreciate you guys checking it out. We're gonna keep jamming these. If you like the video, like the content, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Would you have done this? Would you have done differently? Who would you have picked? All that sort of stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one.